Hello, BookTube. Well, it's once again been a jungle of a day. I've only just now got a chance to make a video, and I'm not going to have a chance to make more than one. But I'm hoping that it will break sometime soon. And in the meantime, it's the first day of Litmas. That's a 12-day literary event created by Adrian at Stripcover Lit that's meant to celebrate books and literature in all our lives and to do it one epic moment at a time, one per day. And Litmus Day number one is your favorite poem. Read it and then talk about it. And it presents a tiny bit of a problem for me because my favorite poem is also a book. And it's also my favorite book. It's Ovid's Metamorphoses, which I could hardly read in a video, but that's long. For a favorite short poem, I have one that's it's still a bit long, but I think I can read it in a presentable video. And for that, we, of course, apply to the Oxford Book of English Verse. Not the Quiller Couch version, but the version by the mighty Helen Gardner. And the poem is one that will be familiar to a lot of you, especially if you had a meat and potatoes English language education. And you might also be familiar with it from my own channel, because if Ovid's Metamorphoses is my favorite long poem, this is my favorite short poem. It's not particularly short, but only by late 20th, by 21st century standards. And it's Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And I'm going to read it to you now, just a tiny bit of setup that his audience would not have needed, but that a modern audience might, which is that this is kind of a fan fiction of Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus wanders for 10 years and finally makes it back home to Ithaca to his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus, and quells a nasty insurrection in order to regain his throne. And the whole point of Homer's Odyssey is the yearning of the man to get back home, to overcome all obstacles to get there, which was part of a larger mythological cycle in which Odysseus eventually wants to wander again. He's got the wander bug. He's got the itch, and this poem takes off from there. It's narrated by an older Odysseus, here called Ulysses because that was that was the name that I knew him by. It was the name that the mythological cycle for a long time was Romanized, and so that became that is a version of his name. But anyway, so that's where it starts off, and it's narrated by him. So here is Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. It little profits that an idle king by this still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I mete and dole unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times have I enjoyed greatly and suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone, on shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy Hyades vexed the dim sea. I am become a name for always roaming with a hungry heart. Much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least but honored among them, and drunk delight of battle with my peers far on the ringing plains of windy Troy. I am a part of all that I have met, yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams the untraveled world, whose margin fades forever and ever when I move. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life, life piled on life were all too little, and of one to me little remains. But every hour is saved from that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things, and vile it were for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself, and this grey spirit yearning in desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star beyond the utmost bound of human thought. This is my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the sceptre and the isle. Well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labour, by slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. Most blameless is he, centred in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods when I am gone. He works his work, I mine. There lies the port. The vessel puffs her sails. There glooms the dark, broad seas. my mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder and the sunshine, and opposed free hearts, free foreheads. You and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Death closes all. But something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done, not unbecoming men that strove with gods. The light begins to twinkle from the rocks. The long day wanes. The slow moon climbs. The deep moans round with many voices. Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world. Push off, and sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. It may be the gulfs will wash us down. It may be we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles, whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides, and though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. And now, Adrian mentions in his introductory video that in addition to simply hauling on stage the item of the day, we should also talk a little bit about it, and I could talk a lot about this. I have, in fact, given 1-hour lectures on this very poem. It's the thing I love most about it, of course, is that it's not Homer. It has nothing to do with Homer. We don't know. Well, first of all, what we know from Homer famously, even if you only barely remember the Odyssey from your school days, is that Odysseus washes up on Ithaca alone. Naked as the day he was born and alone. So this business of my fellow mariners with whom I have striven, and we may see the great Achilles whom we knew, he lost his crew. He lost every single man jack of them to waves, to sirens, to cyclopses, to cannibals, to lotus eaters, everything. But it's not only that. It's also that what we see here is Ulysses mildly giving over the kingdom that he strove so hard to reach. And what happens to Penelope? He's leaving it all to go adventuring. And it's very much of the reason that I love it is because it's not so much Homer as it is Victorian England. It's not so much the ancient Greek world as it is the world of Kipling, the world of the mind frame of vigorous living that was so prevalent in the day, and that contains both childlike optimism and also a world-weary cynicism. That's what I love most about the poem, is that it functions as a wonderful knowing anthem for never giving up in life, for constantly seeking the new, for seizing life, for drinking it to the lees, while at the same time knowing the whole time, just the setting of the thing itself in ancient Greek mythology, knowing the whole time the whiff of anachronism that floats around all that kind of thinking. I love it for its imagery. I love it for the way it dramatizes without being heavy-handed. We get at the beginning, the king is sitting beneath these crags by this barren hearth. He's very stable. He's very static. And then we get a philosophical interlude where he talks about what it means to have experiences and how vile it is to simply sit and rust. And you can feel that as him grappling with himself to come to a decision. And what is the decision? First, to leave the kingdom to Telemachus, who is called 8 different kinds of meek and mild. And then you can hear the way the verse just bounces with excitement, and then to go down to the shore and see the vessel. And the mariners are all there, and the light, the last light of day is twinkling on the rocks, and it's time to go. It's time to get away from these domestic cares and go and seek the baths of all the western stars until we die and not know what the outcome will be. I just love that. I think it's wonderful. And it has for a long time been my favorite short poem. In a way, I think it's also heartbreaking because you couldn't write a poem like this a generation later. That Victorian attitude of We must drink life to the lees. We have seen the glory of battle on the ringing plains of windy Troy. All that died in the First World War, in the mud of the First World War, and has never been revived, except by idiots, and never will be. So, in addition to harking back to this mythic, glorious age of heroes, of old heroes, the last of the heroes, who's deciding that he's deciding in favor of heroism one last time. In addition to looking back at this, reading the poem takes you back to the last age in which it could be written, and that all those reasons and many more. Of course, I myself am also an author of Homeric pastiche fiction, which this kind of sort of is. They all make it my favorite short poem. There are many other contenders. This is like many of the categories in Litmas. This was actually pretty tough to decide, but it's definitely the winner, and it's my start for Litmas. So I'm gonna tootle off now. Unfortunately, I am buried still in work, and I'm again hoping to clear that up by tomorrow so we can have a bunch of videos. But at the very least, if I don't manage to do it, because this is pure practicality, but pure practicality doesn't raise its head very often on this channel, but it's pure practicality. If I am being crowded around with work that has money attached to it, my rule has always been yes. My answer is yes. That's all there is to it. Now, it could be that 2018 will be the first year of my professional life in which I actually have to say that answer has to change, but I don't think so. And in the meantime, I certainly have to do it, which means at the very least, what I will do tomorrow will be Litmas Day 2, which is flash fiction. Curse that, Adrian. I swear, this one must have been aimed directly at me, although there are a lot of people on BookTube who feel that way, because he's so good at getting us up out of our comfy chairs. So tomorrow I will grapple with flash fiction, and that will be a video I will make if I make no others, but I will try to make others. So I will see you then, and thank you for the patience, BookTube. Victorian poetry, good Lord. You put up with so much from me. Well, I'll see you soon. Thank you.